Good morning. I'd like to go over some announcements with you this morning. It's not on the list, but I would like to say as co-chair of the Dream Team, we really appreciate your generosity in supporting 8s Wild. All of our athletes finished what they said they would do, and we are hoping to get your pledges sooner rather than later. And thank you very much for supporting this. And in this time, it's very difficult to come up with fundraisers that are fun, and we think this was. Faith Forward Inquirers meets today after the service. Our session today is Pastoral Care and Small Group Ministry. Inquirers is our newcomers program. Each Sunday after the service, we invite new attendees to join us to learn about Unitarian Universalism and the Tree of Life. We will use the same link as the church service, and we'll start at 12:15, so you will have time for coffee hour and to grab a quick bite to eat. Our Compassion for Campers program will continue supplying our homeless neighbors with survival essentials throughout the winter, and it needs your support. You can contribute to this fund or contact Patrick Murphin about donating, volunteering, or donating cold weather gear. Mindfulness is your twice a week moment of bliss. Whether joining for 15 minutes or the full hour, mindfulness is offered every Tuesday night at 7:30 and every Thursday afternoon at 1:30. Information can be found in the happenings, events on Breeze, or our website and meetup.com. Tree of Life will be Zoom hosting this year's Interfaith Thanksgiving service by Faith Bridge on Sunday, November 22nd at 7 p.m. Please join us for a night celebrating McHenry County's diversity of faiths and giving thanks for community. Links and further information are in the happenings and under events on our website and Breeze. What is this Breeze thing we keep mentioning? Join us for Tech Tools Sunday School on Thursday, November 12th at 7 p.m. Judy Stetner will introduce this online tool that is available to all Tree of Life congregants and help you get on and use it. Reverend Jen is hosting our second game night this Tuesday at 7 p.m. Whether you attended the first one and loved it or are joining us for the first time, all are welcome. Information to join is in the happenings, the website, or Breeze events. And finally, we want to get to know you and answer your questions. If you are new to Tree of Life, we hope that you will fill out the visitor online card that will be posted in the chat. We invite you to join us for coffee hour and for our Inquirer session today. We are a friendly bunch and welcome a chance to get to know you. You can also just stay in the main session after the service, and a member of our membership development team will be there to greet you. We welcome all who have joined us this morning, and so begin our service. Good morning, and welcome to Tree of Life Unitarian Universalist Congregation online service. My name is Sue Kasleski, and I am your worship leader this morning. Our speaker this morning is the Reverend Jennifer Grayson, Tree of Life's interim minister. Her sermon topic will be After the Vote. And now our call to worship by Reverend Jen.
Our call to worship this morning is by Carl G. Seberg. Let there be joy in our coming together this morning. Let there be truth heard in the words we speak and the songs we sing. Let there be help and healing for our disharmony and despair. Let there be silence for the voice within us and beyond us. Let there be joy in our coming together.
Thank you, Reverend Jen. And Janet Burns is our chalice lighter this morning. Janet?
Good morning. My chalice lighting this morning comes from Reverend Scott Taylor. Don't always run from your pain as fast as you can. Befriend it. Hold it in your frightened hands until you realize it's more malleable than you thought. Until you realize your strong and courageous hands can shape it, can take its sharp edges and mold them into pathways that connect you with other people's hurt, can transform it from a weapon that has wounded you into a bridge that connects you to others. I light our chalice this morning for healing as a community.
Thank you, Janet. Please join us in recalling our purpose. We journey as a family towards spiritual growth, freedom in faith, celebration of diversity, commitment to action, devotion to each other, the community, and the earth. And now we have a story for all ages. It is taken from our Spirit Play program, and it is entitled Promises.
This is the rainbow path of our Unitarian Universalist community, the way in which we try to live our lives. This is the spirit of love and justice and truth, the spirit of mystery that some people call God. We use the color gold for the mystery. You know, sometimes it's hard to be in community. One person might do something that another one doesn't like. They might think someone is being unfair. So in our Unitarian Universalist community, we make promises to each other about how we are going to treat each other so that we all get along and do what's right. These promises are also called our principles. Our first promise is red for respect people. Each person is special just by being his or herself. Each person is like a gift. You are special just by being yourself. You are a gift. We don't know all the wonderful things about each other until we learn about each other. Find out all of our gifts. We are all precious, so we treat each other as a little part of the mystery. Our second promise is orange for offer fair and kind treatment to all people. Since we believe that all people are gifts, we need to be kind and fair to them. This heart reminds us to be kind to all people. Our third promise is yellow for yearn to accept and learn about ourselves, others, and the mystery. By thinking about ourselves and other people and learning and celebrating our differences, we are reminded by this flame that we are all connected to the mystery that some people call God. Our fourth promise is green, for grow by exploring what is true and right in life. It's sometimes hard to decide what is true and right. So this flower reminds us that we grow as people by exploring answers to our questions. We may find different answers to the same questions, or questions that have no answers, but we keep on asking. Our fifth promise is blue, for believe in our ideas and act on them. Once we figure out what is right and true for us, this bell reminds us that we have to try to do what's true and right, not just talk about it. The bell is that little voice inside us that lets us know when something we do is right or wrong. Our sixth promise is indigo, or dark blue, for insist on a peaceful, fair, and free world. We try to do what's right, and we want all people to have freedom and justice in their lives. Justice means being fair to everyone. Peace means living together in harmony. The dove reminds us of peace for all. The seventh and last promise is violet, a kind of purple color, for value our home, earth, that we share with all living beings. We value each living being as a gift, just like we do people. This earth reminds us again that we are all connected in our lives. We need to be careful of what we do so that all living beings on earth will have clean water and clean air and enough places to live. We need to remember that we are only one being on the earth and that there are many others that we need to respect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 promises we make to each other to help us be in community. They remind us that we are connected to each other and to the spirit of love or mystery, which some people call God.
Thank you. That was a good story, and I think it's timely for us to always remember what our promises or our principles are. Next, we're going to feature special music, Rise Up, by Andra Day, performed by our very own Cassandra Voss-Dieman. Andra was asked, what inspired you to write Rise Up? And she said, my music and my personal life were both stagnating at the time. And a friend of mine had been diagnosed with cancer. Rise Up started as a sort of prayer. I thought about what I needed to hear to be able to get back on my feet. Most of the song came streaming out in my first freestyle recording. Black Lives Matter has adopted the song as its unofficial anthem. Having the group connect with Rise Up made me more aware that I need to use my platform to serve the community. And now, Cassandra.
I'm Cassandra Voss-Dieman, and this is my song, We Are, that I wrote to honor women and hopefully inspire them.
My apologies, wrong video. Let me fix this.
So thank you so much for the opportunity to
I'll get it. Sorry, I ended up with 2 videos in the file and picked the wrong one. I did enjoy listening to that one this morning though, and I think you'll all enjoy it when we do play it on another service. I'm just waiting for the other one to download. It's almost ready.
Not a problem, Judy. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Cassandra has too many wonderful videos.
It is a great one. And I'm not sure if it's on her website yet, but consider seeking it out. It's called We Are, and it's about women and all the progress they've made. And it's a beautiful song, and would also be really appropriate for today, considering the historic nomination of the first female vice president of the United States.
I'm ready. I have it now.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
This is Rise Up by Andra Day. You're broken down and tired of living life on a merry-go-round, and you can't find the fighter, but I see it in you, and we're gonna walk it out and move mountains. We're gonna walk it out and move mountains. And I'll rise up, rise like the day. I'll rise up, rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up, high like the waves. I'll rise up, in spite of the ache. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, for you, for you. When the silence isn't quiet, and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe, and I know you feel like dying, but I promise we'll take the world to its feet and move mountains. We'll take it to its feet and move mountains. And I'll rise up, rise like the day. I'll rise up, rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up, rise like the wave. I'll rise up, in spite of the ache. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. have each other, and for that we have each other. We will rise, we will rise. Oh, we will rise, and we'll rise up, rise like the day. We'll rise up, in spite of the day. We'll rise up, and we'll do it 1,000 times again and again. And we'll rise up, rise like the waves, and we'll rise up in spite of the ache. We'll rise up, and we'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, for you, for you. We'll rise, rise. We will rise again for you.
Wow, that was so amazing. Thank you so much, Cassandra. And I hope we can rise up. Next, we would like to welcome our interim minister, Reverend Jen Grayson, and with her sermon this morning, After the Vote.
That was beautiful, Cassandra. Thank you. We'll rise up, rise like the day, rise up in spite of the ache, rise 1,000 times again. Good morning, dear ones. What a week it has been. If you're anything like me, you've spent time feeling terrified, worried, unfocused, hopeful, optimistic, disappointed, sleepless, and elated at different times and for different reasons. And we have finally arrived at Sunday. We have some answers and a way forward. And I want to invite you in joining me in taking 3 breaths. Breathe in. And as you breathe out, allow some of the tensions of this week and these past few years to flow out from you. Breathe in. Invite rest, renewal. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Be here in this moment. Our Soul Matters theme for this month is healing. It was a wise decision on the part of the Soul Matters curators to think we might need to talk about healing this month. This election taught us how much work there is to do in this country, how far we have to go to achieve justice and equality. And so much has happened in the past 4 years that has inflicted hurt and further wounds on the most oppressed in our communities in particular. And we have a lot of work to do. Unitarian Universalists are good at that. We are called to keep an eye on justice and an eye on where we fall short in achieving justice, both in our congregations and in the world. And we sometimes do this with such dedication that we forget to pause, to rest, to recognize, celebrate, and feel gratitude for how far we have come. And while it is important to remember that we have more work to do, we must keep that we must keep working toward justice. This isn't how we heal. We can't gather the energy to rise up again if the only thing we are set on doing is seeing where we have fallen short. In order to heal, there are times we need to pause and to rest. Biologists tell us, in fact, that we sleep so much, almost a third of our lives, in part because it gives our bodies and brains time to heal. Spiritually, too, we need to pause to celebrate the success and the progress. Consider the centrality of the practice of Sabbath in the Jewish tradition. In the creation story of the Hebrew scriptures, God looked at what had been created, saw it was good, and took the day off. Rest is not a neglect of our call to the ongoing work of co-creating a better world. It is an integral part of it. We need to see where our efforts to heal are working so we can put our life energies into that and move forward into an increasingly brighter future. As Unitarian Universalists, we honor the fifth principle, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process. Congressman John Lewis once said, "Democracy is not a state, it is an act." And over the last few months, we as a nation have engaged in the act of democracy. And this week, we have been waiting to see the results of that act. While you were waiting for the results of the presidential election, did you have a chance to hear about some of the other changes that have happened? Several states in this election voted to legalize marijuana. Oregon became the first state to decriminalize the possession of small amounts of even hard drugs like cocaine. This means Oregon residents will no longer face arrests or jail time for drug possession, and it will allow people with substance abuse disorders to receive treatment instead. This is a huge victory, in part because we know that drug arrests are more likely to put people of color in jail. And the statistics tell us this is not because they are using drugs any more than white people. And being arrested and put in jail impacts one's ability to get jobs, housing, and even higher education. Colorado approved a paid family leave program, which provides 12 to 16 weeks of paid leave for new parents, those dealing with serious illnesses, and those caring for family members. Florida voters approved a new $15 an hour minimum wage. This is significant because we know that folks below the poverty line have to piece together several jobs to meet a minimum standard of living, depriving them of that very necessary rest we reflected on a few seconds ago. California approved a ballot measure that will allow formerly incarcerated people on parole to vote. This will restore voting rights to about 50,000 people. And in an interesting twist, Californians also voted against a measure that would eliminate cash bail. Normally, those of us concerned with justice want to see the cash bail system abolished. But this is a partial success because it is what the justice advocates were asking the voters to do. Cash bail in California would have been replaced with a risk assessment system that has already shown bias against people of color and poor people. Justice is a messy work at times. And in honor of the interdependent web, even animals have experienced some victories. Colorado voters decided, with a slim margin, to reintroduce the gray wolf back to the mountains, marking the first time that voters made this decision rather than the federal government making it. January will also see the first rescue dog move into the White House. And despite voter suppression in the form of gerrymandering and limited polling places and hours, particularly in countries with high numbers of folks of color, we saw record high voting across the country. Joseph Biden received the most votes of any president in history. And we are seeing more diversity than ever before in our political leadership. A record number of women ran for office in 2020, surpassing the previous record from 2018. More Republican women ran for US House seats than ever before. New Mexico has elected the largest all-women delegation to the House of Representatives in our history. And all of them are women of color. A record number of Native American women have been elected to office. Sarah McBride is set to become the nation's highest ranking openly transgender official in the country. Cori Bush, a single mother and a Black Lives Matter leader, will be the first Black woman to represent Missouri in Congress. There are dozens of wins for openly gay, lesbian, queer, and transgender candidates across the nation. And this election brought us the first ever female vice president-elect. Not only that, but the first Black Asian woman born to immigrants to hold such high office. Yes, clap indeed. I'm overwhelmed sometimes by the idea that my child will be born into that world. This country was founded with an unspoken idea that only white men should be in charge and that they should be the only ones making decisions. And our progress toward full inclusion has been slow. We aren't quite there yet, but we are making larger and larger strides, and we're doing it because of those who've gone before. We have a woman VP-elect because of the women who fought for the right to vote, who moved this country towards the 19th Amendment 100 years ago. We've reached this historic shift because of all those who advocated for civil rights and access to education, people like Ruby Bridges and Rosa Parks, who refused to stay where others thought they should. We reached this place because people like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who helped break barriers and who forced the law to recognize women. We are here because of people like Congressman John Lewis and all of those who crossed the bridge at Selma. People like Unitarian Universalist Minister James Reeb, who gave their lives for civil rights and ensured the Voting Rights Act was passed, breaking down so many of the barriers that prevented Black folks from having equal access to the vote only 1 year after Kamala Harris was born. We are slowly creating a government that looks more and more like the people it was always supposed to serve. And it's a reality worth celebration. And we stand here in this moment on the shoulders of so many who have gone before. May the world we build from here on out inspire our children to stand on our shoulders as they stretch further towards justice, hope, and compassion. My beloved spiritual companions, we are a hurting and hurt country, deeply divided by our past and our inability to hear the pain around us. And we are moving slowly toward healing. And by bringing more voices to the table, we are bringing about even more change. By claiming power for those who have never held it before, we will create a new world. Embrace this time. Celebrate the progress that has been made. And then we will continue the journey together. I want to close this piece of our time together with the words of our Unitarian ancestor, Reverend Theodore Parker. I do not pretend to understand the moral universe. The arc is a long one. My eye reaches but little ways. I cannot complete the figure by experience of sight, but from what I see, I am sure it bends toward justice. A new world is coming. Let's create it together. Blessed be. Amen. Before we move on, I'd like to try something with you. In the spirit of taking a moment to rest, I'd like you to engage in a modified Lectio Divina practice. Lectio Divina is a slow, meditative, spiritual reading where you allow a passage or even a word from the passage to speak to you. It is most often found in Christianity, particularly in monastic or Catholic traditions. And those of you who participated in Faith Forward spiritual practice class may have experienced it. For our Lectio Divina, I'd like us to take a few moments to focus on the lyrics for our closing hymn, Fire of Commitment. Bless you. From the light of days remembered, burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. From the stories of our living rings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. I'm going to read it one more time, and I want to invite you to allow your mind to be attracted to one word or phrase. After I read it, I'm going to give you just a minute to sit with the passage and consider what meaning these words have in the context of your life. From the light of days remembered, burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. From the stories of our living rings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. As we sit in silence for a moment, I invite you to share in the chat the passage or words that have context in your life and even what you think about them, or you can just hold on to them. And further, I invite you to take some time these next few days to pause, to consider the meaning of the word or text you chose. What is it calling you toward? How might you be different because of the text? Thank you for taking some time to share the phrases that you connected with, and please feel free to continue doing that. And feel free to talk about it a little bit in coffee hour. We don't have another question for you during that time. Thank you. It's such a joy to be with you today.
Thank you, Reverend Jen, for your healing words. And I think we all have lots to think about this week. Each week, we take an offering that supports the work of this congregation in our lives, in our communities, and in the world. Today and in the weeks to come, you may make your offering in one of three ways, which are listed on your screen. Text to give online, or mail a check. And please indicate which fund is this for. Pledge, Second Sunday, General Fund, Eights Are Wild. As is our custom on the second Sunday of the month, we donate our non-pledge offering to an organization whose work reflects our Unitarian Universalist values. This month's organization is Transitional Living Services for Veterans, or TLS. We have a video that we'll be sharing with you to tell us a bit about the work that they do.
So thank you so much for the opportunity to update you on what's been happening at TLS Veterans. You've been a long-standing supporter of ours, and we truly appreciate that you come around, every year repeatedly, looking for ways that you can help us help the veterans and their family members. Very, very appreciated. It's been quite a year, as you know. We have found ourselves, like everybody else, very challenged in trying to figure out new and different ways to serve people who need us even more than ever. And so we have gone along with the COVID protocols as required, while still having people come to us for food, for shelter, for counseling, for employment. And we've done different things in terms of drive-by services, porch services, remote services, etc. All of our programs have continued to function. You may recall that we have 8 different programs that serve veterans and families, from different angles. I've mentioned a few, but we also have outdoors therapeutic recreation program. We have a caregiver support program. So a whole circle of care around veterans and their family members, of which you are a part by your support of us. We do have some changes coming. As you may have heard already, hopefully you have, we're going to be moving to a new site. Our administrative office will move to Crystal Lake. It's 805 South McHenry Avenue. It was an opportunity for us to move into another community that has supported us a lot through the years, and to be in a space that will be new to us. It was an empty building that is being built out, our section of it for us, and we're really excited. So stay tuned for more information about that. We're waiting for a move-in date, but we're expecting about mid-December. And then in January, we're going to be also announcing that, we have been Transitional Living Services, TLS Veterans for 25 years, almost 25 years. Next year will be our 25th. And we've really reflected on the fact that there was a time and a place where that name made sense. But as we have moved forward in expanding our services and really looking to find and offer that pathway to hope for veterans in need, that a new name would better reflect what we do. So we'll be doing a reveal in January, just kind of make it fun. And so look for more information on that. So again, in summary, thank you so much for all that you've done to support us. We really hope that you, every one of you, are well and staying healthy, and your families are. That if anyone is coming down with it, they're making it out okay. And from one Unitarian Universalist to a whole congregation, thank you and peace be with you.
During this time of uncertainty, your generosity to Tree of Life is more important than ever. And as always, we give thanks for these gifts and for all the gifts you bring. Thank you. Sharing our joys and concerns is a sacred moment in our worship when we open our hearts to receive and embrace each other's lives. If there is something new in your personal life, an event or situation of joy or challenge that touches you, please feel invited to share this to help our community grow in connection. All announcements will appear in our newsletter unless there is a request to be withheld. If you do have something to share, click on the participation link at the bottom of your screen and raise your hand. I will then call on you and also unmute you. Okay, I am going to start us off with a joy. Thank you all for the wonderful messages I've gotten in terms of recovering from my hip replacement. It has gone well, and I'm using a cane, but I can walk without one for a short period of time. So I am blessed, and I am blessed by all of your care. Thank you. Reverend Jen, do you have something?
I do. Virginia felt the baby kick a couple of days ago. The baby seemed to have kicked Virginia's bladder, but she felt it. So,
Yay.
that's
I can remember the first time I was expecting a kick, and it was more like a flutter. And I'm like, was that a kick? Was that a flutter? And so she will find out it's definitely a kick as you go.
Yeah,
along.
she's been feeling flutters, and this was the first time it was a kick. She's like, wait, my bladder doesn't pulse. Oh.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. Janet Burns, do you have any joys or concerns this morning?
Many joys, but nothing I need to share today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Judy Ayers.
Yes, I have two joys. I became a great-grandmother a week ago, which was baby number 3 for great-grandma for our son, Joe, that's in the Navy, stationed down in Augusta, Georgia. And he's the grandson that I told everyone about when he joined the Naval Security Group, which was the same group that Grandpa was in. So, and my second joy is another grandson told us that I'm going to be a great grandma for the 4th time. So the mom and dad are very excited. She's a Montessori teacher, and they told the family with a real cute pumpkins, a mom and dad pumpkin and a baby pumpkin.
Oh.
So everybody found out at the same time. So I've got a lot to be blessed.
Oh, yes, you do. Oh, Judy, that is such wonderful news.
Yes, it is.
It is. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Irene?
Well, some of you may know I was, my daughter and son-in-law took Freddie and they took a little vacation a week or so ago. And they did a trip through Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Missouri. And when they got back, they decided to test for COVID just for an abundance of caution because, although they physically distanced, they did stay in hotels and they did all outside activities otherwise. And my son-in-law's test came back negative. After the first it said positive, first it came negative, and then 2 days later with the long test, it said negative. So my daughter has been extremely stressed all week, having to walk. They sent the nanny home immediately. She has to watch the baby. Work for her is stressful. They're laying off lawyers if they're not doing enough hours. So, when I get a phone call from her, I know she's at the end. But he tested again, and the test just came back, and it was negative. So there's such a feeling of relief in that family. And they feel that the chain of, what do they call it? The chain of custody was very weak the first time that they were tested. As they were watching, they were concerned, but now with this other test coming back and watching the way that chain of custody was performed, so there was a lot of drama, and it may have been because of weak testing protocols. On a second note we're all very relieved, and I'm relieved for Freddie, I'm relieved for the caretaker and all of that. On a second note, I tried last week, Freddie has had his challenges being such a big preemie, and he was very delayed with gross motor skills, and on their vacation, he just started crawling. And the world has opened up for this boy. He is a crawling demon. And right away when the dog was returned, he does his barks are ruff, ruff, and he's following the dog around, and he's ruff, ruff, and the dog is starting to moan, and he's scared. He's fighting Freddie, and I'm like, I guess I know who the alpha dog is in that family. The bulldog Leo. So much joy that he has finally turned that corner, because he and you could see I think he seems bright to me. He has a very novel way of solving problems, is how they put it on his little evaluation. And he does things differently to solve problems than you would expect. So maybe he'll be an inventor, not that I'm saying anything or whatever. So much joy related to a very hard week for us personally.
Thank you for sharing, Irene. It's such, I know I had to get a COVID test before I could have surgery. And that was the only thing I was worried about. I was never worried about the surgery. I was worried about the dang test coming back negative. And so I get your relief. And what excitement with Freddie crawling, because you've been so concerned. And being an English teacher, I think it's probably moved away from this philosophy, but crawling used to be extremely important in terms of reading development. So I'm so glad. Yay. Okay, we have Lisa Campanello.
Okay, good morning. I have a joy that my facility was 7 months or 8 months free of COVID, but as of last week, I might have said, or 2 weeks ago, that we had cases in our bigger building in assisted living, 2 cases, and it was on my floor that I'm in charge of. Well, after back and forth, they tell me they want me in this building, that building, this building, that building. And then I get into the other building where they decided to put me, and we had running around like crazy last night. We had 1 case that was as I came in, but all of a sudden we got test results, and we're wearing shields and we're wearing everything, but we had 2 residents that were out in the public that got infected. We had an employee call in and say her test was positive, and I work with her all the time. I'm not concerned for my own health, but I'm concerned about my sweet, loving residents and my favorite employees that I work with and stuff, because we are a building of 31 residents and 3 to 5 have it so far. And it's just the numbers are going to go up. We've just the reality of seeing the nurse run and listening to this guy's raspiness in his chest and stuff like that. And just, them coughing and sneezing and just squirt your hands. Let's go over here and wash your hands and let's do this. It's just a big concern. And of course, as carefree as I am, I have to be precautionary because I do have a kid with allergies, major allergies and weak immune system and stuff. But just, as my boss says, we're healthcare workers. That's going to happen. We're just going to have to garb up. I mean, we might look ridiculous and see each other in a whole different way with the booties and the face shields and the goggles. But you know what? Just wish us to all be safe and, keep going, doing our job. We're all burnt out like heck, but we got to still smile for them and show them we're strong.
Ooh, Lisa, you have a great attitude, and I hope that the cases go nowhere beyond what has shown up so far. It doesn't look like anyone else has raised their hand in the participant bar. So we will now honor all those unexpressed joys and concerns that remain on our hearts for the space of 3 breaths. Now let us pause for centering with Rev. Jen.
This centering is adapted from the words of Angela Herrera in her meditation called Invocation. Every week, Unitarian Universalist congregations across the country honor the joys and sorrows of the community and the world. When you come into this space together, you are invited to be your entire self. Don't leave your broken heart at the door. Bring it to the altar of life. Don't leave your anger behind. It has high standards and the world needs vision. Bring them with you and your joy. And today we honor the joys that were shared here. Gratitude for care from the community, new children in our families and lives, crawling for the first time, negative COVID tests, record numbers of people engaging in democracy. Bring your passion, bring your loving and your courage and your conviction, bring your need for healing. And we honor those sorrows that have been expressed. Sorrow for those who are endangered by COVID, either because they have it or they are at risk. We hold the sorrow of knowing that record numbers of people across the country and here in Illinois are ill. May we do our best to keep everyone safe. Bring your power to heal. There's work here to do, and you have all you need to do it right here in this room. And this week, I also invite us to honor veterans, those who have devoted part of their lives to the service of their country. May we hold all that has been shared here and all that is in our hearts and minds as we move through this week. Blessed be. Amen.
Thank you. Now let's sing together as Billy Sager plays hymn 1028, Fire of Commitment. The words will appear on the screen.
And spirits into faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment
Wow. Thank you, Billy. Now please join in reading our closing words. Be ours a religion, which like sunshine goes everywhere. Its temple, all space. Its shrine, the good heart. Its creed, all truth. Its ritual, works of love. Its profession of faith, divine living. I will now extinguish this chalice. If you have a chalice or flame at home, you can do the same. We extinguish this flame of communal worship and now carry its light within us. We share this light, we carry its warmth to all whom we meet.
Our blessing today is Fitted for This Day by Kimberly Quinn Johnson. The words, "We are the ones we have been waiting for," are from June Jordan in the poem for South African women, which she presented at the UN on August 9th, 1978. We are the ones we have been waiting for. We are not perfect, but we are perfectly fitted for this day. We are not without fault, but we can be honest to face our past as we chart a new future. We are the ones we have been waiting for. May we be bold and courageous to chart that new future. May we have a faith in a future that is not known. We are the ones we have been waiting for. Go in peace, go in love.